Okay, D, bylaw number 2122, official community plan amendment number 1449716 3rd Street.
I'll move pursuant to public hearing which we have this evening, the bylaw be considered for third reading.
Second?
Discussion. Councillor Chad.
Thank you. I like the design of the building. I do not like that building in that location. Perhaps if there was more land in between space, it wouldn't be as obvious. It would appeal to me more. So on the one hand, I like the building, I like the way it looks, happen to like that style. I also like the neighboring buildings. I don't feel it fits in there. My biggest problem comes with the parking, and I understand that we're doing a parking review and we're looking at that, but we're also needing to deal with the parking today, now. We don't have the employee parking lot. There have been delays. It's just the way it is. I get that. I totally get that. But I think before we go to increasing the density to that degree and reducing the parking requirements while we don't have an alternative for the excess parking is not the right way to go about it right now. So I am not going to approve this.
Councillor Locker. Oh, sorry, Councillor Chad, then Locker.
I will not be supporting third reading. It's too big, wrong place, doesn't fit. And when we talk about parking, I came here in '88 and that was a topic going on now, that then the same as we have now. Parking is not new and we have struggled. So I will not be supporting third reading.
Councillor Locker.
I'll support this project. At APC, it had a good session, and it wasn't quite unanimous. There was one vote at the end that changed, and really no reason was given. I think the architect has made a great effort to make this a handsome building. One of the problems is there's a hydro pole there, but they're meeting all the requirements except for density. And you know, I've been down there. It's a tough site to build on. I certainly support those comments about how it's actually going to happen, and I would be interested to see the construction plan. But if you would take a look at that, there's what I call the yellow building, and then this proposed building, and then the bed and breakfast, and then of course there's another reasonably large area that will be developed in the future. I mean, it has to happen. And whether these buildings are modern or have gables, I don't think it's really up to council to comment on that. That's in the eye of the beholder, and architects have different ideas. And that's interesting, because this is the same architect did these three buildings in a row, and two of them are similar and one isn't. So, and as far as parking, it really isn't the developer's problem, it's the town's problem. I was down there during the weekend, and there was lots of parking. So it's the employees are parking there because the stores were open on the weekend. So and that's council's problem to do that. There was another comment made that oh, we'd have to have places for 2 cars. Well, I just can't agree with that, because there are all sorts of condo buildings that exist now, and in fact the one across the street is one in case, where half the parking is empty. So it was probably designed for two cars, and there's barely 1 car per unit, because that's how we're starting to live. The younger people, some of the young people don't even have driver's licenses. They're just not interested. I can't imagine that. You know, I had mine when I was 16, but I'm from a different era. So times change, and this car share, it seems to be catching on. And young people wish to spend their money in other ways, and buying cars is not the top of the hit parade for them. So I will still be supporting this project.
Councillor Bremner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one comment to the public. I ask that, following up on Councillor Wainwright's comment from earlier, we're having a record year in terms of construction, and there's quite a number of projects that happen that council doesn't see. So looking around town at all the development doesn't mean that it's all been approved by council. So that's just one comment. And also to respond to Mr. Barker's comment about the developer who was actually misquoted by saying he gets whatever he wants in town. The person who said that actually retracted that statement, so that is untrue. Council already knows how I feel about this this proposal. I appreciate the adjustments made to the plans. I think it's a pretty cool looking building, but not for this location. I can't support it moving ahead, and I encourage Council to send this very talented architect back to the table and come forward with something that fits in with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Councillor Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a bit of a challenging one. The building fits the zoning, except for the number of units in it, and obviously they're asking for parking variance. So the height and the design and the setbacks and all that kind of thing actually match the zoning. What they're doing is they're asking for the additional units, and they're asking, and actually I'll pick up on one of the comments that was made during the public participation or the public hearing part. We are actually doing a density review and a review of bonus density at the moment, and we've had a consultant working on that. 2 reports have been done. Those are available on the website. Yes, we do believe there is something wrong with the way that we're regulating density, and we're engaging the community looking to figure out how we fix this. So, yep, there is a problem. And this particular development proposal is coming forward before we figured out the solution of that problem, before people are comfortable with what that solution would be. So they're applying basically under the old rules, which say you have to ask for bonus density, and they're actually asking for more than the OCP currently allows for bonus density, which is why the OCP amendment. But the request at the end of the day might be something that a year from now they wouldn't need an OCP amendment for at all. But it is today. We have not finished the community engagement. People are uncomfortable with bonus density, and under the current rules, you make a financial contribution for that bonus density. And they're proposing to give us $20,000 towards a car share program. We've also had a parking study done, and actually we had recommendations about parking coming out of the density report and out of our parking study, and both of them have indicated a problem with our payment in lieu of parking spaces being too high. But the current rules are that if you are short of parking, you can make a payment in lieu, or you can apply for a variance. And everybody's been applying for a variance, and we've been giving it to them. But both of those reports are recommending that we should actually collect some money towards alternate transportation. It's just we're asking too much. And that's why people are asking for variances, and why council's been giving it to them. So that's sort of the context. I kind of like the design. I am okay with the number of units generally, but the timing is bad in that we are still in the relatively early stages of this public engagement process. We really don't know where the community is going to land in terms of what they're going to be happy with for bonus density and how it'll work, and even whether our density is going to be a floor space type of thing, and whether this would need a rezoning or need an OCP amendment. And the parking thing is kind of the same way. We're trying to fix the employee parking, as already been mentioned, but we're not there yet. And our plan for doing that has basically suffered a setback when we had to recite the community safety building. So I guess at the end of all this, I'm kind of sitting here going, this to me is simply too soon. In 12 months' time, I might be happy to support this, but right now, it's jumping the gun on the public engagement process that we're trying to go through, and I'm just not comfortable with that. So even though I kind of like the development, I can't at this time support it.
Allison, you had a comment?
Through the mayor to Councillor Wainwright, just to provide some clarification on the bonus density, the amenity contribution. Sorry, through the mayor to Councillor Wainwright, to provide some clarification on the amenity contribution that is being proposed in bylaw 2123, which is the zoning amendment. It's not $20,000 for a car share. That was a condition of the approval of development variance permit to reduce the parking, the required number of parking spaces from 10 to 8, so to reduce it by 2 spaces. The proposed amenity contribution is $30,000 towards pedestrian-oriented streetscape improvements in the area of the proposed development. So the developer would be proposing or giving $30,000 towards the streetscape improvement in exchange for the bonus 6 residential units, as well as the $20,000 towards a vehicle, to purchase a vehicle for a car share.
Actually, I've got a quick question to council, or to staff. So if this is turned down tonight, what could the applicant actually build under the current zoning and OCP? Because it's zoned for 4 stories already, right?
To the mayor, yes, the property is zoned downtown commercial C1. It is permitted to have 4 stories, up to 100% lot coverage. They could do a full commercial building with commercial on all 4 floors. They could do up to 4 residential units within that 3-dimensional shape that's permitted. They would still have to apply for a development permit major that would come through council and through the Advisory Planning Commission, likely for the look of the building, for the form and character. But if the number of units that they proposed and the setbacks and lot coverage and number of stories and parking all complied, it would just be a development permit, not a rezoning.
So basically the same size for really expensive units that nobody can afford goes against what council's trying to do with providing a range of housing in town. Yeah, we went through this argument there a little while ago. Councillor McLennan.
Yeah, and this is exactly the reason why I don't have a problem with this development, is the fact that we went through this on the 4th Street situation. We understand there's a problem. We understand that we need to fix that problem. We're in the process of fixing the problem. But developers are still in the process of buying property, building property, developing property. And I just cannot see a property that close to the downtown having 4 units in it. It just is, it is poor planning, it is poor use of your land. And that's why I would support this, because I think in the end of all of this that we're going to be going through with the density review and everything, we're going to find that projects like this are what we need in our town. We hear time and time again that the stores are hollowing out and this and that, and then, well, you know what? More people in your town is more footsteps, more people spending in your stores. And that's just hands down the only way you're going to do it. So I support this.
Councillor Fallon.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Earlier, one of the speakers mentioned something about a tree that was on one plan and wasn't on the other. Is there any plan, if I may, through you to staff, is the tree planned on coming down?
Staff.
Through the mayor to Councillor Follett, the Parks Department has indicated that that is a good boulevard tree and they would like to retain it if possible. And the applicant has indicated that they would like to work with the Parks Department to try to keep it.
So the absence on that drawing was just...
I'm guessing to
A
better
typo.
show the architecture of the building and not cover
Okay.
it up with a tree.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Yeah, I've got a few comments. I mean, I appreciate everybody's comments on both sides here, but I think it's rather unfair to any developer who comes before us to say that we're working on things come back next year, as they're paying huge carrying costs for the land, for what they've paid for architects. The architect has redesigned this. The look of the building is nice. It has setbacks. It has changed the roof structure. They've matched the colors. And one of the arguments that got brought up that a councillor couldn't support it is the fact that we haven't done the employee parking lot. I mean, that will get done quite quickly once we move with the fire hall, because we have an agreement with the Mary Winspear Centre to pave quite a large portion of the lot for employee parking as part of the agreement for the easement. So I don't think that really washes. So, and like we just heard tonight, I mean, we can send this back, and the architect can just pencil out a few condominiums, and we can have $1 million condominiums, which we were trying to get away from. Like Councillor McLennan said, we already went through this argument, and it's not what we as a council are trying to do with our community. Build huge, multi-million-dollar condos. Some, yes, but not all of them. So I'm gonna vote in favor, because I also have a great deal of respect for our advisory planning committee, which came back and supported this wholeheartedly, other than one dissenter. So that's one of the reasons why we send things like this to the advisory planning committee, is for council to get guidance from them as well, and also from our staff. And the parking issue again, we need to change how we do things, and the applicant has come up with a very creative solution that, for 3 of those units, you don't need a car. You're going to get a car. He's buying a car for the unit. All right, so it totally shoots down the parking argument, right? And it's the way we should be leaning as a council, is to get away from the 1 or 2 spots. Somebody mentioned that there'll be 20 cars there. I can't see that, because a lot of people don't want a car, don't need one. They'll go rent one, right? So that argument isn't solid. Anyways, those are my comments, so I'm going to call the question. So all in favor? Opposed? Motion defeated. Okay. Item E, well, I guess